he still plays football from morning to evening with his friends, and he has that. I think so. For me, basically, I think when I entered this compound, I think when I entered this compound, it's fully. I think each and everything here is so much disciplined, so much in a proper way, or everyone talks to in a proper way, or everyone knows how to behave to a normal person. So even everything, I think everything conveyed. I think if you even look up to Kishore sir, the way he talks about things, the way he behaves to people, I've seen him, I've noticed him. I think the way I think it's the best thing which sports teaches you. I think for me, I think I am 25 now. So from morning to evening, I know only thing is to just prepare for my sessions and then prepare for my sessions. So I know I basically my father is a sportsman, so he has taught me how a sportsman should be. Or I think I was talking to my friends that every youngster or every child growing up in a society should be definitely introduced to a thing called sport. I think definitely it's very important to go to school, but I may be wrong, but I think if you are introduced to a sport or if you're getting into a sport career, I think you will learn much bigger things than what you're learning in school. Definitely education is enough, but more than that, we need to learn that how to live a life. We need to know how to face failures or how to face success. That's the only thing which we can keep on learning in sport. I think myself being a cricketer, I keep on preparing myself. I think I take around 5 to 6 months to prepare for an IPL tournament coming up. But I'm not sure about my success. But I go to play a match, then I fail. Then I fail. I think my parents are sad, my friends are sad, my whole team is sad. But I am also heartbroken. But I need to catch myself up. I need to tell myself that I know I have to come back. I have to come back from it. And that's how you develop a character. That's how you develop a positive attitude to come back from any negative situations in your life. So sports is always about negatives and lot of negatives, and then you change it into positives. So if you are having a decent career in any sport, maybe athletics, basketball, cricket, football, or even if you have played 5 to 10 years in any sport, then I'm 100% sure that if you have a proper career, if you have proper guidelines, as I told before, that how big role a teacher plays. A teacher tells you how to behave to your seniors. A teacher tells you how to behave when you are success. I think when you have gained success, that's when you need to be more humble. And when you are feeling failures, you are having failures. That's when you need to bring yourself up, and you need to bring yourself with lots and lots of positive thoughts and all those things. I think it's all about dealing with your own mind. I think it's all about dealing with your own thoughts, dealing with your own negative thoughts, and then changing it to positive thoughts and positive situation. And that that realistically happens one day in your life. I think I have faced so much in my life already. I'm 25, but I've gone with lots of ups and downs in my career. I have been nowhere in my state team. I have been dropped from my state team, and then from there I have came back to the Indian team and opened for my Indian cricket team. So I have learned how to come back and how to face failures and how to face setbacks. And when you know how to face failures and when you know how to come back from setbacks, you'll definitely know how to be a good citizen in the society. I think if you look up to different sportsmen in a society, you if you look at a person, the way he speaks or the way he conducts his body language, then you definitely can tell him either he's from military or he's a sportsman. So that's the biggest thing which we learn. I think so. So sport plays a huge role in making one's character and attitude. That's what I have learned, Matthew sir. It's a very special question, I say.
Oh, good. Thank you. That's nice.
Thanks, Sanju. Thanks, Sanju. Would it be fair if I say two things? One, sports taught you life skills. And number two, the coaches and the teachers molded you, or they were the guide, and they have played a crucial role in who you are today beyond an internationally renowned cricketer.
Definitely, I think yeah. I think it's a yeah. Both the points are very crucial. It's a mixture of both. I think only if you have a coach is telling you to do this and to do that and everything, but inside yourself you're not feeling. But it's a mixture of both. You also need to have the drive, and at the same time you need the people who can help that drive. I think definitely you need to have the drive first, and then you need to have the people who can support you. So yeah.
So, Sanju,
Yeah.
I'm done with my presentation. You just nailed it. You just nailed it. This is exactly what I wanted to say.
Yes.
That's it. So,
Thank you.
can we get to the Q&A session now?
No, now we're having a presentation. Sanjay, if you find some time, it was so nice that you're with us as a group, and I'm sure this makes it more meaningful. The sessions are more meaningful because it is not theory, we are relating it to the practical, and we have people who have not represent, I mean Indian sports staff along with the academicians. That's something that we require. So thank you so much, and we look forward. If you have some time, please be with us.
Thanks a lot.
I request Zachariah Mathew to kindly start the session. You can have the
Thanks,
screen
Sanju.
ready,
Thank you.
please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Can I have the screen up?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can share.
Is it true? Okay. Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the session. Thanks for joining the session today. Um, you know, I mean, I'm a little choked um, because this is overwhelming. This is amazing that I have this opportunity to talk to my colleagues. And in fact, this is the very first time that I'm doing this in the field of sports and physical education. I'll get to that in a second. Let me introduce myself. Um, so my name is Zachariah Mathew. I'm originally from Kerala. I did my schooling in Kendriya Vidyalaya, and I did my bachelor's in physical education from Lakshmi Bai National College of Physical Education. That was in 1994. It sounds a long while ago. And then later in 1998, I did my postgraduate diploma in sports management. And then in 2000, I moved to the United States to do my master's in exercise physiology and sports science. However, going through that program for almost a semester, I decided that that was not what I really wanted to do. That my passion was more into management than into the the physiology aspect of it. So I changed my program, moved from South Dakota State University to Indiana State University, where I'm right now today, and did my master's in recreation and sports management. And later in 2016, I also completed my.
Zachariah,
Yes.
please, have you shared the screen?
Oh.
Not yet. Please share the screen.
Sorry. Yes. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was gone. Okay. Are we good now? Are we good?
Yeah, good.
All right. I'm sorry.
We could see the session objectives. Yeah, fine.
Okay, so yeah, so I was saying, so later in 2016, I completed my PhD in higher education leadership and management. So I made, I can't say I changed my career path, but I did definitely make a shift from teaching to more into fostering learning. In my career, I started off working as a physical education teacher in Rishi Valley School, and then later moved to Malayadadi International School in Bangalore. Um, and I left the place as the head of the physical education department there at Malayadadi. And then upon completing my master's in sports management, I took up a coordinator position at State University of New York. It was a community college. I was responsible for mostly recreation sports. That was my primary responsibility. But then I also taught exercise physiology, therapeutic recreation, sports management, and then also activities like yoga, badminton, and all those things. And then I also was a coach. I did coach the track and field, indoor and outdoor, and then cross country. I was also the conditioning coach for the national junior champions basketball team, and also for baseball. I also worked with the women's basketball team a little bit, but not in any formal capacity.
Sir, Zachariah sir,
Yeah.
can you speak a bit loud?
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And currently I serve as the
Yeah.
Associate Director for International Center for Global Engagement. And my primary responsibility here is comprehensive internationalization and global initiatives. So the two major areas that I really work is integrating or infusing global competencies into teaching, learning, and research. So that is to bring global perspectives into existing curriculum or develop new curriculums. For this purpose, I build relationships with universities abroad, and I also work with scholars from abroad and to some extent with government agencies abroad to bring that perspective. I'm also responsible for all the international students who are coming into our university, and then I send students from my university abroad. We currently have students from over 90 countries, and I send students to over about 30 countries every year. So there's a lot of traveling involved, and it has given me an opportunity to engage and interact with a lot of people from around the world, from different cultural backgrounds. So it is an amazing experience to be in this job. One might wonder, so I mean, earlier I said that I kind of changed my career path. I really want to reiterate that I did not change the overall what I really wanted to do. I was so much into teaching, and I used physical education as a mode to teach, or that was a medium for me, physical education. And then I realized after coming here, one need to understand that you only know what you know. There is a lot of unknowns, and that's where really your life experience or exposure really comes into play. And that is what the sole purpose of this workshop is as well, is to introduce you to newer perspectives. But when I came here, I realized that you could possibly teach, but not everybody learns, because for learning to happen, there has to be, for us to foster learning or learning to happen, you have to give proper conditions. You have to help, um, you have to provide the conditions needed for learning to happen. And that's when I decided to switch from teaching to foster learning, and then also in some way influence what you learn. And that's what I do through curriculum development and all those things. So the session objective, my primary role objective. So before I do that, Usha ma'am asked me if I could also talk about education or physical education opportunities in the United States. I mean, I should have thought about it, but I did not. I was only thinking about the presentation. So uh, Indiana State University, it's a state university. State university does not mean that it is administered and run by the state. It is just that it is funded by the state. The state does not have any say per se, other than having one member on our board of directors. So it's a state university in Terre Haute, Indiana. Terre Haute is about 70 miles west of Indianapolis and about 250 kilometers south of Chicago. It's a small town with about 75,000 people. And our university is a comprehensive university. It has a comprehensive research university. We have undergraduate programs and graduate programs, and we have about 12,500 students. 80% of that undergraduate students and 20% graduate students. So graduate is the master's and the doctoral program. Undergraduate is the 4-year degree. And here the bachelor's degree is 4-year. I mean, let me put it this way: it takes up to 4 years. It could take up to 4 years for you to finish. It is 120 credits. The master's degree can range anywhere between 30 to 36. Generally, it takes about 2 years to finish your master's degree, but you have up to 7 years to finish it. And then your doctoral program can take anywhere between 4 to 9 years to finish. You need to get admitted into at each level. Now, most of my friends who are there, you might also be interested in knowing what are some of those opportunities that you may have pursuing your education in the United States. So you can, there are very few diploma courses that's run through institutions of higher education. There might be private entities that run diploma courses, but most of the institutions of higher education only run bachelor's, master's, and doctoral programs. You have a lot of options to choose from. As I said, when I came into exercise physiology and then moved into sports and recreation management. There is that flexibility that you have here to change your major as long as you have some background in that field. So you can do your master's or bachelor's in sports science, exercise physiology, kinesiology, sports management, sports and recreation management, recreation and park management, and then also physical education on both ends, on in K through 12, which is teaching, and then also you could pursue a career, and you could also pursue your coaching degree in at the master's level. Now, PhD, you can be very specific in a given field, or you could also choose what you call multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary programs, where you can have a PhD in curriculum development with an emphasis on um, let's say physical education. So when I did my PhD, mine was higher education leadership in the field of international student affairs or international affairs. So you have that opportunity then. So if you have any questions about you or anyone else wanting to pursue education, please send me an email. I have that in the on my very first slide. So the primary objective of today's session is bifold. One is to introduce to you a leadership model called the social change model of leadership. And then I'll take a few minutes to explain or to look into how one might be able to apply this model to what you do. And the final part is we'll share some time for question and answer. Now, but before I start the session, I really want to congratulate all the physical education teachers out there and our gurus and our teachers who really helped me build this, because we have come a long way. In the field of physical education has grown, and we have come a long way. So when I was a physical education teacher, I was teaching at an international school where still physical education was a co-curricular activity. No, it was an extracurricular activity. It took me 3 years, 4 years. This is in spite of having full support from the principal and the vice principal. It took me almost 4 years to classify it as a co-curricular activity and offer physical education as a major. And keep in mind that this is in spite of having full support from the principal. To do that, it took me 4 years, because it is just not that level of support. It has to be, there has to be a cultural shift. There has to be resource allocation. This has to be sold to the community. There has to be people in the community to buy it. So congratulations to each one of you for fighting for the cause, and you see the impact. Now, one of the reasons why I thought I would pick this topic and was because of what I heard during the inaugural speech. The Honorable Minister for Sports and Youth Affairs, he was talking about bringing physical education as a mainstream curriculum. He was talking about changing or enhancing the status of physical education teachers in par with other teachers. So it was very motivating. It was amazing to hear that. And I was wondering how much of opportunities that would open up for you to change the world, to make a difference. And as you heard Sanju say earlier, you know, you can mold the future leaders. You literally have the opportunity to mold the coming generation. And I thought this model might really fit in very well into uh, what opportunities this new education initiative will be bringing. So this, as if I did really look, and I saw a little bit of the new I don't think the education policy has been published, but reviews are that physical education will have a prominent role. And then also the Khelo India movement. I think that is what really led me to decide which way to go, because now physical education or sports is going to take a very different role. It is no more something that you do for entertainment. It is going to play an important role, and that is going to enhance your opportunities, the opportunities that you would have as a physical education teacher. And on the right side, you see that is the Khelo India pledge. And that really is what sets the agenda for you in the coming years, in the future coming years. So this model that I'm talking about is called the social change model of leadership development. Now, you can apply this model in any setting that you want. Primarily, the purpose of this model is to instill leadership in the students. I will get into a little more details as we get to the history and the purpose of this model. So let me start with the premise of leadership. We generally, when we think about leadership, we are thinking about this one individual who influences others to achieve a common goal or to achieve a purpose. Now, so if you really look at it, what we are really saying is it is a traditional view of leadership. That leadership that we are used to is about this one person, be that the director, be that the principal, be that the prime minister, be that the king, or whoever it is. It is that one person initiating the change and influencing. That influence can happen on personal level, or that influence can happen on the positional level. So if the Minister for Sports Affairs says something, he's going to invest money, and that is a position. But on the personal level as well, if you really look in on a very different level, look at our freedom fighters. Mahatma Gandhi, he never had a position. So it was a personal influence. So irrespective, we are really looking at an individual and how this individual influences social change for common good. So the model that we are referring here does not talk about an individual. It is about a process. Now, the social model, the social change model, it is I would say it is pretty recent, or it is a newer model which was established they started working on it in 1993, and it was established in 1996 through the Higher Education Research Institute at the University of California. It was led by Helen and Alexander Austin. The primary purpose was to develop a leadership model that could be applied in institutions of higher education. Now, it is also very important to understand the role of leadership development in higher education institutions. When I talk about institutions of higher education, I'm talking about universities in the US. So this framework that we're talking about, the social change model, would help guide college students and university staff and faculty to develop the leadership development process. Here we have a lot more in colleges. Here in the universities, we have a lot more avenues and opportunities to develop leadership qualities within the students. So within the classroom, you can choose a class as an elective or even as a core. You can choose a class on leadership. So there are universities that offer this particular model as a 3-credit course. And then there is also opportunities for you to research in the field of in the field of leadership. So one of my area of research was leadership and how influence happens. The other aspect is also that, and this is very unique about the US education system, that is the student affairs. There is an entire division, just like the academic affairs. There's an entire division that is led by a vice president that works towards developing student leadership and student development, areas of student development outside of the classroom. So this gives students an opportunity to apply what you really learn in the classroom in the real life scenarios. So student affairs is responsible for all the student organizations, all the leadership initiatives, all the community engagement initiatives. So there is a lot more opportunity for students to develop those leadership qualities. And the leadership is also, in a way, connected to employability. So when you really look at the success of a student, it comes down to you being employable and having leadership qualities. Not only makes you a better citizen, but also it gives you those employability skills. Employers are looking for someone who can bring in change. They are not hiring you to maintain the status quo. They want someone who can take what you have right now to the next level. So we as educators, you and I as educators, we have the responsibility to develop those attributes among our students who can make the change for tomorrow based on where they are today. Now, it is very important for one to realize that change does not happen in a day. It takes time. It is a transition. The change is about accepting a new culture. And I always say change does not happen in the chronological time. It happens in a generational time. If you really look at, I mean, we can really see that in you and in your parents. We have a very different culture because it takes time to accept change and adapt to it. And this particular social change model is about instilling those leadership qualities in the student. And you could also use this while developing your programs. So the social change model approaches leadership not as an individual and the position or the role you play. The social change model approaches leadership as a purposeful, collaborative, value-based process that brings in social change. Um, so this is about collectively bringing the talents of a group to make a social impact or social change. So in this context that we're really talking about, you can look at that social change in multiple ways. Towards the end of the session, we will talk about it, but in this case, it would be more about, you would use physical education or recreation or community coaching as a vehicle or a means. And the cornerstone of this model is a concept of a value-based process. The model is rooted in the commitment to the core human values such as self-knowledge, service, and collaboration. It is a model and a tool for social change and as a philosophy of socially responsible leadership. So this is again the last statement that I just made, that a philosophy of social responsible leadership is not about a position winning its power. This is about being responsible for social change. So the model is based on 7 assumptions. That a leader makes the change for others. So the leader is not just trying to change the world for him, but he initiates or he works towards making a change for rest of the world. Leadership is collaborative. Leadership is a process and not a position. I think this is the shift. This is a paradigm shift that we need to work towards. This is something very important. And this is also cultural, because every culture looks at it, has more tolerance or acceptance for different types and styles of leadership. Leadership is inclusive and accessible to all. So this is also important when you really look at number 3. It says it is not a position. So that means everybody can be a leader. In a group, it doesn't have to be just one person telling others what to do. Leadership would be value-based, and we are talking about value in terms of societal values and what really holds people together. And service to others is the vehicle that would develop leadership skills. Now, one needs to recognize the fact here that these assumptions are deviate away from the general notion. To some extent, I also want to say that this is keeping in mind the future generation, and we're not talking about making immediate impact. It is about looking at the young minds and how we can influence change through the young minds. Now, The social change model, or SCM, primarily has two goals. Number one is to enhance students' understanding of self and develop leadership competencies. And the second goal is to change, uh, cause positive change in the community. Something key is the fact that this model is inclusive. This is designed to enhance the development of leadership qualities in all students, those who hold formal leadership positions. And earlier I said, and I do not want you to misunderstand. Yeah, earlier I said that this is not about a position, and now I say who holds leadership positions. This is not against holding up. Organizations should have a president. Organizations should have a vice president. So I'm not saying that this is a model where you have no position and that it is collective. It is collective, but there is a position holding as well. Um, but this is also about developing the leadership skills of people who hold a position, and those, and also for those who do not actively engage and who actively wish to contribute. There are a lot of people who have so many attributes and qualities of leadership, but they do not believe in holding a position. So this is about bringing leadership in among those as well. So broadly, there are 7 values that this model would want to instill in your students, which is further categorized into 3 subgroups. So those 7 values, also known as the 3 C's, are consciousness of self, congruence, that is harmony, commitment, collaboration, common purpose, controversy with civility. That is something amazing. I'll tell you, you can spend a whole day talking about controversy with civility and citizenship. And some say the 8th C, which is a result of the first 7 C, is change. Okay, so these 7 values are further classified into 3 dimensions or 3 categories, which is individual values, group values, and societal values. So within that individual values, the first 3, that is consciousness of self, congruence or harmony, we'll explain that, commitment. And the second dimension is the group values, that is collaboration, common purpose, understanding or developing a common purpose, controversy with civility, and the final one is citizenship. Now, this is the framework. What you really see right now is a framework, which is a combination of individual values, group values, and societal values bring in change, and they interact. The You see those arrows going on both the directions. So what it really implies, or what it really states, is your individual values or your individual qualities has an impact on the group dynamics. And the group dynamics, in turn, gives you an opportunity or makes you look internally to see what the conflicts are. Where does this, my characteristics or my personality or what my capacity is, how does it not fit into the group dimensions? In the same way, the group dimensions or the group attribute has a direct impact on the society as well. And then what happens in the society also has a direct impact on the group. So a group could, as I said earlier, when I wanted to change physical education being the extracurricular to co-curricular, I had full acceptance. I had full support and the blessing from the principal. She was a British lady. She was a physical education teacher, but yet I could not do it. She could not do it because within the community, they were not ready to accept it. So there has to be a level of acceptance. So what would such a thing to do to the group is that groups have to come back and revisit and re-look into what the needs of the society is. So it is interacting on both the directions. And in the same way, what happens in the society has a direct impact on you as an individual. And keep in mind, if you really look at the loop, you were the reason why the change happened. Okay, I'm not talking about causation here. I'm not talking that you caused the change. You definitely influenced the change. And something also that is very important for us to understand is leadership is a transition. It is a growing process. It is like asking, yeah, okay, great example. Let me try this. Okay, we are all physical education teachers, or we care for physical fitness. We care for our health. We all work out, right? Um, so let's say if you burn 3,500 calories over a period of time, you lose 1 pound. Okay, there is a formula that says, okay, 5 days or 7 days is a good amount of the time. So what are the chances that you could work out every single day, stand in front of the mirror, and see what has happened to you? And I'm talking about every day, right? Literally, what are the chances that you would see the change? Possibly not. You might not see any change. Whereas if you take a picture today, and I am a good example. Since March, because of my health conditions, I had to lose weight, and I have lost about 20 pounds, about 10 kg. I did not realize that until this morning. I wore my formal pants. That's when I really realized that I have lost real weight. So leadership is also the same thing. You will not be a great leader overnight. Everything that you do in between. So let's say if I work out 30 minutes every day for 5 days, I could, let's say, hypothetically lose a pound. So does that mean if I work, what is that, 30 multiplied by 5, 2.5 hours a day, that I would lose a pound? Probably not. Right? So that is exactly how leadership also works, that you might not be able to really say and see when you become a leader. It is a transition, and everything that happens in between makes you a better leader. So there is no way that you can say on what day and at what cost made you a better leader. You can definitely, from today to tomorrow, you can be a better leader, but the day after you would be a better leader compared to the day before. And it all depends on the exposures that you have. So we were talking about those 7 C's, and the first one is consciousness of self. And take any model, any competencies, cultural competency, global competency, or in this case, leadership competencies. The first and the foremost is in all these models is consciousness of self. This is about knowing what are the talents that you have, or what are the talents that you do not have, what are your strengths, what are the weaknesses that you have. It is in the context of this model, you're looking at personal qualities that would attribute in supporting the overall function of a group. So when we really talk about consciousness of self, you're talking about your talents, your skills, which is influenced by your values, principles, identity, your personality style, your leadership style, your aspirations and dream, and also specialized knowledge in a given field, your organization skills, your persuasion, your negotiation, understanding what your capabilities are and what are some of your weaknesses, because it is very important that you understand it so you can play a crucial role or integral part, knowing where you can contribute in a meaningful way. And something that I really want you to uh, pay close attention to is identity. And especially in a country like United States, where identity is a major issue, and you see that in the news, and it all pans out from identity, is it is not many times a dichotomous view. It is not about this or that. So we can choose to All right. I can be, let's say, I mean, you can also do this. Think about if who all you are. In my case, when I say this, I can say I'm a male. Okay, that's one identity. But then I'm also a father. I'm also a middle-aged person. All right. I'm also a son. I'm a husband. I'm an administrator. So there is an intersectionality of identity. So if I do something, I can't just look at my physical appearance and say, I'm a male from India, I'm middle aged. My needs would be very different if I'm a father or not. My needs would be very different if I'm a faculty or an administrator. My needs would be very different if I am a middle aged or old or young. So this intersectionality of identity also plays a huge role in one's self-awareness. And this is not about where you hold a position within the group. Okay, this is very important, you as physical education teachers, to understand, because let's say in physical education, a male or female being a handicap would change the entire dynamics, or differently abled. So when you plan a program for male or female, if you do not take into consideration the religious constraints in engaging, which is part of the religion, is part of your identity, you would be challenged. So it is very important that you look at identity from a very different lens of plurality, and that would make a huge impact. And this is more for the teachers. The second one is congruence. Congruence is about, okay, let me talk about those pictures. So if I may take a second, let me check on the time and make sure that I'm not running over. So earlier I said these models are used in institutions of higher education. I use this model extensively. I have developed a leadership institute. I mean, I shouldn't call it a institute, a leadership program for international students. These students come from abroad, and they have very little understanding about leadership development. So in 2012, I started a leadership development program, which is a year-long program, and I use this model. I use this model to develop the leadership program. It has three major parts. One, as you see in that picture, the top one, where you're really talking about leadership qualities. It is a series of lectures, self-assessment, and talking about group dynamics. And on day two, I take them to our adventure sports center, what we call the outdoor center, and we build team building activities. This is about bringing that coherence between the group. So the first day, I allow them to really talk about this consciousness of self, or congruence. What is collaboration? What qualities and how can you develop? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? I've used different instruments like true colors or Brigmeyers and all those things to identify what are those qualities. And then on day two, I have them put that into practice. And then the final one is, as to complete the program, these students have to develop a program of their own. And we meet whenever needed during the year. And for them to graduate and get a certificate, they have to finish all the three phases. And I'll tell you, this has made a huge impact. I know one of my graduate assistant, he just got a program, got a job while organizing an event for the leadership development program. He had to bring in somebody from outside, and he had to negotiate. Little did he know, the person who he was negotiating with was a hiring manager at a big firm, Honeywell. And the next thing he knows is a request asking him if he's looking for a job. And they were into manufacturing, and within a week he got in. They did not check much about his technical skills at all. So this program has played a huge role in developing leadership in our students. And then I also develop many other programs like no food waste. We have used bike sharing, bicycle sharing programs. And the next session on the 19th, my students will be joining me to present about how they have applied this session or applied this theory in developing a badminton club and how it has really helped them develop their leadership skills. So earlier, I'm sorry about bringing this in. So earlier we were talking about the consciousness of self. Next one is the congruence. This is also part of the leadership development program. So next is the congruence. Congruence is about walking the talk. It is about how you apply the values and the principles, how consistent you are in applying the values and the principles that you really hold. And now, this is not that simple that you can just say that I believe in honesty, I believe in truth. So anything that is not honest or that is not true shouldn't be applied. Life is not that simple and easy. It is not that easy as making a choice of one of the two. There might be, you will get into a position where you may have to choose, or you may have to help the students choose from right. One of the scenarios could be that you could actually look at an individual situation and make a decision based on your ethics. But the consequences of that decision on the community could be not favorable. You may have to choose between making a decision that has a short-term and a long-term impact. Your decision, which might be wise, could have a short-term benefit but have a long-term negative impact. So it is not about this making a decision. This decision making, or the congruence that is following what you really preach, is not that easy. There are many times, and as earlier said, wanting to have physical education as a co-curricular. Yes, it was, but it was on a long term. It was not feasible for them to sustain, so they had to develop it. So sometimes they believed in that physical education wanting to be co-curricular, but could not because it wouldn't have sustained. So it is not that easy to be congruent. So it is also understanding. This takes a lot of skill to make those decisions. Decision making is never easy at all. So that is congruence, and the third one is commitment. Um, Commitment is about, it implies intensity and duration, and it is about how much are you willing to contribute or invest in terms of your emotions, your time, and how much tolerance you have in order to get to where you really want and to get the intended consequences. Sustained commitment is driven by one's deep internal passion and motivation. Leaders with commitment follow through on promises. Now, though I say that, it is not easy. So when you really look at commitment, we have to be very cognizant of burnout. And one's commitment can change within a spectrum. So one can come in with great enthusiasm and with great commitment, and if you do not provide the needed support to further that commitment, one could lose it. So commitment is not just about an individual. It is about everything that surrounds that person and the beliefs in that common objective. I mean, we all are committed in this field, but there's a heavy burnout. And then also your commitment could be challenged depending on how much resources your institution provides you. So that's commitment. And the next one is collaboration, which is in the second dimension of group dimensions. Collaboration is about working together to achieve a common goal. Now, here I also want you to differentiate between collaboration and cooperation. Okay, cooperation is about two individuals coming together with the same perspective and meeting an objective, or meeting a goal. Whereas collaboration is, you might possibly have different perspectives. So here there is an element of negotiation. It is about understanding where you come from and where the other person comes in, and getting into a common avenue to meet the common goal. So it could be from two different perspectives. That is a major difference, and it is very important. Cooperation, many times, don't take me to the word here, and don't hold it again on my head, on my forehead. Cooperation might be easier, but collaboration takes in a lot of investment. Some of the elements that really affects collaboration is building trust, information exploration, shared ownership, and celebrating success. So when you collaborate, and if all the credit goes to one person, or if you cooperate and all the credit goes to one, it can challenge one's ability to cooperate or one's willingness to cooperate, and that in turn would challenge your commitment. So as a group, you need to, when you develop the programs, when you're really instilling these leadership qualities, you need to keep in mind these things, that collaboration is not something that would happen just because you ask them to collaborate. There is a lot of self-awareness that needs to go into them. There should be a lot of work on decision making. So it is all interlaced. The next one within the group is common purpose. Now, the common purpose is something that is a belief system. It is you believing in what is that you want to achieve. Now, it can't be like a tug of war. In a group, you cannot have people pulling it from two different directions. Now, it is very important to instill that common purpose. Now, when I say this, we need to understand that it has to be collective. And we need to provide an avenue where it is a group decision. It is a communal decision. Now, you can have multiple ways of achieving it, the common purpose, but the common purpose does not change. Now, multiple ways of achieving it is what we call cooperation and collaboration. And within those two, collaboration plays a higher role because you're really talking about the perspectives. Yes, I want to, let's say, I want to make sure that I build physical fitness among my students. How you gain it, how you achieve, can be in different ways. It could be recreational sports, or it could be through physical fitness batteries that you install. So how you get there can differ. And if you have to choose one, how would you negotiate it? But irrespective, what it is where you're all going is to the same destination. There are different ways. And one needs to believe in the common purpose. For one to make a social change, it is very important that you fully understand what the common purpose is. Now, controversy with civility. Now, let me, even before I get too deep into this, let me tell you again, controversy with civility is not the same as conflict resolution. Okay, now you need to look at this also through the lens of leadership development. This is about thoughtful differences in opinion. So earlier we were talking about perspectives. Now everybody in the group could have different perspectives. Now, how do you handle these with civility? So again, this is not about conflict. This is about difference of opinion, and how do you really negotiate it? And this is very crucial, especially like a country of ours, where if you really if you really look into big cities like, let's say, Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, Madras, all these places where within your school, you can find students who are from different states, probably different country, and they all have different perspectives. They all have different values. So it is very important that you teach the students how to address those differences with civility. It is not about shutting down one's opinion because you are in my state, or this is what we do here. And I regret, but you see that in the news here. Unfortunate. So it is about addressing those differences with civility. Now, you can, on the right side, you see the spectrum there. You can, with address high controversy with high civility by providing them the students a safe environment where they can express those differences and not be judged. It is not about right or wrong. Keep in mind, it is progressive. It is progressive. The students really move from one stage to the next through these exposures. If one does not provide an opportunity to address those differences, it will cause more damage for the group. And in turn, that will have an impact on the society. So it is very important that you really teach the students. And as a teacher, you would need those skills. And this is where going through these workshops and seminars will really help. You will need those skills to address controversy with civility. And the final one, which is the communal value, is citizenship. At this level, we are not talking about citizenship in terms of being a better citizen by voting. It is more about understanding the needs of the society and you being an integral part in resolving or meeting the needs of the society. So this is a character that needs to be built in. This is just not about voting, or it is just not about just writing a check. It is about having a deeper understanding about the needs of the society, and then you working. When I say, I'm not, by no means am I saying that it is not good enough just to donate, but being part and being an integral part of social change. That is what citizenship means. When all these 7 elements work together, change happens. Change happens at 3 distinct levels. At the 3 levels, one is change happens at an individual level, that is, change happens within you. Change happens within the group, and then it also makes a change in the society and the community. Okay, so individual level development or change happens. You learn to trust others, so it is easy and you are a lot more confident in delegating responsibilities. You would be a lot more matured and you will be able to develop the level of competency in responding to situations. You will not make that sporadic response, which is emotional, the first instinct responses. You will be a lot more thoughtful. This also applies to digital civility as well. You become a very reliable or a committed team member. So all these personal attributes makes you a better team member. At the group level, it enhances collaboration to capitalize individual strength to achieve the common purpose. The next one is very important. Challenge false harmony and work together on disagreements. We are talking about congruence, and we are talking about conflict dealing with civility. So that development, integrating information to task across subgroups, replacing norms to accommodate group values. So you might come in as a group and then realize that the needs or the dynamics of the group requires for you to change certain belief systems. So you grow into that, and also to build a supportive community as a group. At the community level change, you're looking at collectively creating a community with sense of shared responsibility and empowerment, building relationship or coalition among individuals and groups, learning how to create an inclusive community with a sense of belonging, appreciation, and way to contribute in a meaningful way. Sorry, I'm just checking at the time to just make sure.
Fine.
So the next is applying this theory to practice. I'm going to brush through this in the next 10 minutes. So before I get into this, I was wondering, usually in a workshop, it's always nice to play a video, a sound bite, and all those things. So I was looking up, and then I thought this, the next video would give me set the avenue or set the path for the next part. this person does not need any introduction, right? Especially in the last couple of months, he was in the news big time. So this is Ratan Tata doing the acceptance speech during the Automotive Hall of Fame in 2015. This is about 4 minutes.
Screen is gone.
Oh.
We can't see it. The screen.
Yeah, can you?
No, the screen sharing.
Disappears.
Oh, screen sharing is gone?
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't know.
You can share it again, sir.
Once
Yeah.
again, why doing it?
Share screen.
Down below. Near the,
Yeah. Share.
yeah.
More. Share computer sound.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
The video. Yeah.
Can you hear the video?
Thank you. It's a great pleasure and a great privilege to be here this evening. A little overwhelming, if I might say so. And I'm overwhelmed. Let me just say that on all the years and the varying capacities that I've tried to work in India, the most fascinating period of time that I've had is in the automotive area. The automobile business is truly an emotive and a tremendously rewarding business. It has more excitement than any other business I've been involved in. And the greatest pleasure I've had is trying to do something that everybody says could not be done. I'll just share perhaps a moment in time which I will always cherish. I decided that India could produce its own car. Everybody, my friends overseas in the automobile business, said that this couldn't be done. We had to go through a collaboration to get know-how, get technology. But we undertook to produce this car. You saw images of it in the video. It was called the Indica, and we produced it in India, totally of Indian content. As we got close to putting it in the market, my friends in India somewhat distanced themselves from me, otherwise known as distancing yourself from failure. And when the car came out, I suddenly felt that I didn't have a friend in the world, and that all the warnings that people had given me were probably going to come true. But the car did come out. It did earn a 20% market share, and we showed that we could do something. Throughout the time I've been involved in business, there hasn't been anything that has equaled the excitement, the reward, and the exhilaration that the car industry has provided and can provide. It gives, as has been said earlier, an opportunity to test new technologies, new building methods, but above all, it has helped in the transformation of the Indian economy to a mobile economy. And a great deal of what has happened in India has happened right here in Detroit. The world owes a great deal to the United States for doing what it did to get the car industry to be taken for granted the rest of the world as it has over the years. It's a great pleasure to be involved in the industry and a very humbling recognition to receive the award that's been bestowed today. I owe this to my colleagues in the company who have transformed this business, and I would like to thank the Automotive News of the
Sorry, again, I messed up. Pretty much that was the end. Can you hear me? Yes, okay. So, I personally felt that was so powerful. I could, to some extent, equate this to I Have a Dream speech that Martin Luther King did for the civil rights. Now, if you really look at that speech, and I'm sure Mahatma Gandhi, if you really look at those speeches by great leaders, you will see a lot about a position, your role. So when Martin Luther King said, I have a dream, people were inspired because you as a local citizen, as a common man, have a role, have a place in that dream. Whereas if he had said, as a social leader, if he had said, I have a plan, and if that plan does not meet with mine, I have no intent, I have no interest to join. So it kind of really was amazing to hear the speech. So a few things that really caught my attention here is I believe India can produce its own car. It is a faith, it is a confidence, it is a belief, and it is about transforming Indian economy, making it a mobile economy. It really equates to challenging the existing status quo. The wrongly held notion that India would need help from Europe or the United States to build its own car. And this is when we had been sending our own satellites. So you really see the disparity. So this is about changing the status quo. And the final one, this is very important. Note it. I owe this to my colleagues in the company who transformed this business. He did not say, and this is very important, what he did not say. He did not say, I owe this to my employees. This is where that shared leadership really comes into play. Each and every person is responsible in this. So this is very important for us to recognize and understand, is this really is what a leader is about. Believing in what one is capable of, what the future needs to be, and also talking about congruence. His beliefs was evident in his action. I do not know if it is right, but they spend almost 60% of their profit in common good. Now, something that we all know, or some of you might know, that in 1999, Tata wanted to sell his automobile sector to Ford. But to some extent, it is Ford's arrogance that walked Tata away. And 10 years later, in 2008 or 2009, Tata purchased Jaguar and Land Rover for $3.2 billion, which was a huge burden on Ford. They literally sold it out for $3.2 billion. And last year, Tata made $33 billion in total sales of just two line of products. So one could wonder, what were you buying? What are you buying? Are you buying the car, the product, or are you buying his vision? I mean, this is not easy to answer. Okay. I'm sure there are better cars that you can buy with a little extra money. But when you make that decision to buy, where does Ratan Tata fall in? Where do you what role does Ratan Tata and his belief system play in your purchase decision? The same is with Steve Jobs. There are so many phones. I mean, I'm an Android person. Um, but why do people fall in for Apple? If you really look at the product, there is no big difference between Android and the Apple. I'm sure my colleagues and friends would challenge it. But have you ever wondered role of Steve Jobs in building that loyalty? People followed his product. He never sold a product with its features. He never sold this has 80 gigs or this has this kind of speeds. He always expressed his technology as a extension of human experience, which you believe in. So that is the most important thing in a leader. It is not the product. It is the belief system. The people could buy a product from you and then discard it after a while. But if people believe in what you believe in, they will follow you. They will be a lot more forgiving. Now, when you bought a Tata car, when it had issues, you did not walk away. India did not walk away from him. We were a lot more forgiving because he was challenging the status quo, and you want to be part of that challenging process. You want to be part of transforming India. This is not an intentional decision. This is a belief system that comes from within. So this is very important for you to understand when you develop or when you come up with an idea for a physical education activity or sports or community engagement or anything of that kind, is that people or the customers do not follow a product, but on a long term, they follow a belief system. If it was a product that really followed, how many of you know what a BlackBerry is? In 2005, there was no other phone that could be compared to a BlackBerry, a RIM product. Today, BlackBerry does not exist. Dell, Gateway. And look how other companies have really gained those market shares. And all those companies that have gained the market share is gaining that not just because of the quality of the product, but the message and what they believe in and how it is conveyed. So with that, let me get into the next three slides or 4 slides. I will, I'm sorry, I'm 15 minutes behind my schedule, 10 to 15 minutes. I apologize. So I'll brush through the next 3. So many times when we really talk about developing a program, be that a recreational sports program, and I have done that. I have been there, so I can associate with it. A recreation development program or a community-based coaching program. There are 2 questions that we ask. What is it I really want to do? Okay. And then how am I going to do it? So the what becomes, let me start do a basketball clinic, or let me do a tennis clinic or a tennis coaching session. And the next question is, how am I going to do it? The coaches, the logistics really come into play. So we literally move between these 2 spectrums about what is it I really want to do and how do I really want to do it. Now, this something that I strongly believe in is the shift in how we really look at it. Okay. Excuse me. I would encourage you to not look at what, but rather focus on why. So what is the purpose of what I really want to do. So that is the vision, the philosophy, the mission, the belief system. Why? Why do I want to do what I really want to do? Now, you can gain a lot of understanding of why if you closely read the vision statement, the mission statement of your institution. And in this case, I'm focusing on Khelo India, the mission of Khelo India. So my objective, the why, is I want to do this because I want to have a better India, a healthy India, where the Shabbat or the pledge really talks about all those things, where you have to make sure that what you do is not the end. So if you go with the other model, when you say, I want to do a basketball clinic, if a student can dribble without looking at the ball, that becomes an end. But if you shift your focus from what you want to do to why, it only becomes a part. It becomes not the end, but a means of neuromuscular coordination or whatever you really talk about. So look at not what you want to do, but why. So it is more, you can, in a theoretical way, you can say that's the difference between the goal and the objective. Okay, you can think about basketball clinic, everything that achieves becomes your objective, but where do you really link it to the goal? Why are you doing it? What is the purpose? And one needs to recognize that if it is not part of the vision or the mission of your institution, or if they do not have the capacity to accept it as a mission, that is not sustainable. So that is very important that whatever the why that you define aligns with your institutional goal objectives, and that means more resources for you to help promote it. And then how becomes the interface. So the interface is, okay, I want to develop fitness. I'm just going to give that quick, simple example. Develop fitness so that there is a healthy community. How? The how can be basketball. That could be the interface. And now what becomes those objectives? What are the elements that really constitute a fit India or a fit community, a healthy community? Now, there is no rule, no law that says a basketball clinic should just be focused on basketball activities, drills and bouncing and shooting. That would happen if it is a camp that is fully attributed for skill development. Here we are really talking, I'm not talking about skill development camps. And even there too, you can further. This is more, it would be a lot easier for it to understand if we have a broader avenue to work with. And then the what becomes those objectives that you achieve through the path, which becomes a step to the next level. So while developing your program with the students, you could really look into what your why should be, your mission should be. Here, what you see here is the Khelo India pledge and the objective. I tried my best to translate. I'm not going to read it in Hindi, but what I really, so philosophically, what sounded to me is what is my path forward. What is the direction that I have out of that pledge is that sports will become an integral part of life. We will play and we will teach how to play. We need build a healthy India. We will bolster the morals of our athlete, unite people through sports, will flourish and honor, accomplish through determination, and build a new nation, will play and teach. So this is the pledge in general, okay? I did not translate it verbatim. As a physical education teacher, try to look into where you fit in here. What is that you your institution and the entity that you represent can do to further this mission, the pledge. So these are avenues where you might be able to work. So this could also mean that the resources coming in could support what you really want to do. Now, the objective, you can see it is further, it was, categorized into access and equity, developing an ecosystem to promote sports, nation development, healthy lifestyle. The next slide, it really talks about program objectives in a much broader way. These are the avenues. So this really would help you to get a direction, a mission for what you really want to do. Now, I think that next one is the final slide. Now, we really spoke about the 7 C's. Dr. Sanjay, can we do this a little interactive? We'll try. If it doesn't go, we will retract.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So the next slide, what I've done is I have put all the 7 C's, which is broadly the 7 C's are the values. And let's see if the audience can identify how they might be able to develop these values through the program that they develop. So they can respond in the discussion chat or in the Q&A. We will try to finish it in the next 2 minutes so that I don't hold back anybody, and then open up for Q&A. When you develop, as a physical education teacher or as a coach, when you develop a program for social change, and when you really look at the individual values, what are those attributes of self-consciousness that you really want to develop? So that's the first one in the green, the first one. Let's open it for the audience. Either they can, please feel free to chat. What do you think are the two, or what is that that value that you really want to identify in consciousness of self? What do you really want to know or promote among the individual?
Yeah,
And if somebody can just
reply in chat box.
Sorry?
Participants can reply in chat box.
Chat box, yeah. What are those individual skills that you really want to develop among your students? Anything there, Sanjay?
Yeah, sir. It is there. Caring, stamina, physical literacy, social value, strength and weakness, friendship, attentives,
Confidence.
Great.
management,
Confidence. Yeah. So I see I saw a mixture of attributes there. When you really look at consciousness of self, you're really talking about I. What do I want to develop? Here, the I is your student who is a member of your club, organization, whatever it is. What is it I want to develop? It would be some of those attributes like my organizational skills, my confidence, my specialized skills, my physical fitness skills. Those are the I's. Now, we spoke about the second one within the individual value is congruence, which is the harmony between what you believe in and what you do. So how can you promote congruence within your group?
Okay.
Any?
Yeah, the answer is leadership value.
Yes.
Captains.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. So instilling in them, in the students, those leadership qualities. Captaincy. Yes, let's talk about captaincy. Can you, or having the student play an integral role in officiating? Yes, there are rules written down, right? So those really help students build the congruence. The next one is commitment. How can you ensure the students are committed? What can you do to assure committance? Want to read out?
Yeah,
Just one or two?
it's like consistency, self-discipline, punctuality, boldness, persuasion,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maintaining discipline,
Yep.
staying on task,
Yep.
boldness, comment role model, motivation,
Great.
motivation, dedication, sincerity.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Along with that, let me also say that you need to provide the safe environment for those things to happen. You need to provide them the support system, the resources needed to bolster or foster it. Okay, that is very important. The next one, we get into the group values. How can you promote collaboration among your students?
Collaboration.
Collaboration, yes.
it's like working together
Mhm.
by promoting team value,
Promoting team value, yes. Common purpose, yes, absolutely. Awesome.
believing on each other's,
Believing in each other, great.
yeah,
Beautiful.
having mentorship,
Hmm.
having mentorship,
Mentorship,
yeah,
very, very
communication,
important. Yeah. Communication, yes. Um,
freedom in decision making,
Yes, and let me also add to this. I mean, this is absolutely, I would have loved for this to go on, and this is the best part of the session where the students really engage or the participants really engage. Let me also tell you, when it really comes to collaboration and all those things, something that you really need to do as a teacher is provide students with the experiential learning opportunity. Now, collaboration can come when the students really take ownership, when you instill a sense of belonging in them, and when students believe that they own it and they're not doing it for you, they are rather doing it with you, and you become, somebody use the word mentor. That is the best word that you can really use, being a mentor. So you need to provide that opportunity to be collaborative. Common purpose, how can you promote common purpose? This is a little difficult one. The big corporations struggle, and this is about why. This is not about what you do, this is about why. It's the common purpose.
Meaning it. So you can read out.
Yeah, read out if you can.
Sanjay?
yeah, it is like a plan for long term purpose,
Uh, mm-hmm.
giving short goals,
Yeah.
set the aim,
Mm-hmm.
teamwork, vision,
Mm-hmm.
setting goals,
Yeah. Beautiful.
yeah,
Exactly so.
Meaning
That
action.
is exactly what it is. It is about making sure that you really talk about with your students, your participants, what is it you really want to achieve? What is that goal you want to get it? So many a times we forget that. We just do it without telling the students what the purpose is. Even when we started this workshop today, I started off with setting the objectives. What is that I really want to achieve? So, I mean, it is just one slide, 2 minutes, but without that, one could be challenged. I mean, if you ask at the end of the session, without that objective, if you ask what did I intend to do with this, every single individual would have a very different opinion about it. But that setting that objective has really helped them to focus and think in one direction or within a shorter span of direction. So that is very important. Great, amazing. This is beautiful. Um, Controversy with civility. How can you foster that skill to deal controversies with civility?
Hmm.
What can you do to foster that?
same like a calm mind, silence is golden, discussion, decision making, then respect each other,
Mm-hmm.
teaching mindfulness,
Yep.
teaching mindfulness, contact with parents, improve the confidence, sharing views,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
provide a safe
This is,
space.
you know, I really feel great to know that I mean that I was able to convey
Yeah,
what I really wanted to in a great way, in a good extent. So absolutely, you're right. Controversy with civility is again to engage students in the decision making, encouraging students to listen, and helping them make decisions, anger management, or quick response. So those are the ways that you can really, and again, mentorship really plays in huge. And every single thing that you read out was just amazing. It fits really well. And finally, what can you do to foster or bolster citizenship? When I talk about citizenship, go back to those slides that we really spoke about earlier. This is about doing meaningful things for the community. What is it let's put it in a very specific way. What can your basketball team do to bolster citizenship? Or what can your club do to promote citizenship? Sanjay?
Yeah, sir. The answer is like togetherness, country first,
Mm-hmm.
individual responsibility and leadership, love
Mm-hmm.
for sports.
So let me be a little more specific there.
Yeah.
Let's say, what can your team, your club, your organization do for that? How can your team do that? Those are attributes, those are qualities. What is it you can do? How can you contribute towards that?
The reply is like practice,
Mm-hmm.
promote sports for all,
Yes, there
make
you go.
growth for country,
Yes.
role model,
Mm-hmm.
community
So
sports,
yes, great.
leagues.
Community sports, promote sports for all. So if your basketball team can go to the local orphanage, or can go down to a less privileged area, and if your basketball team can teach them a few skills, can bring a sense of community among them, and tell them that we care, would that make a difference? Keep in mind, one of the six um, foundation of this community social change model is the fact that they believe that social engagement is a vehicle for leadership development. So think about your organization, your group contributing to the common cause. This can be just helping students learn a game, playing with them, or going to a community and help them clean. Those are the things that we always do. But then also it is very important that you make others feel that they are an integral part of the society. So so that is the most important thing. And that engagement, or what we call community engagement or experiential learning opportunities, so that engagement will give the students a lot of experiential learning opportunities, because they really are then exposed to students who are coming from a very different perspective, who does not even have the opportunity or the resources to come and join you at your basketball club. They can't come in because there are certain constraints which you are not aware of. So when you really talk, when you really go engage those students with those students who are less privileged, who do not have access, that opens up another avenue for perspective taking. So that is very important. And that makes the change. That is a vehicle of change, and that is a vehicle for developing a leadership. So that was the last of my slides. So we can open up for question and answers.
Could stop sharing the screen, please, Zachariah?
Oh, stop sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I through?
Yeah, it's true. Sanjay, you could ask one or two questions. Sanjay?
Yeah. First of all, sir, the session was very wonderful. I think we know the meaning of leadership, but now we actually come to know what is leadership and how can leadership help in the field of physical education. So it was very wonderful, sir.
Thank
So
you.
the question is how we can identify leadership in early stage.
So let me, Darlene, I see you there. Welcome, thank you. And now I am hyper conscious. So leadership has attributes. Now, opportunity is the key. Now, you have to really know what the attributes of leadership are, and we need to provide the students just not an opportunity to be a participant, but give them opportunity to engage and take ownership. So this would give us as trained eyes to observe some of those leadership attributes. You can really see how this one individual just comes in. This small 3'2" guy or a 4'2" guy would just come in and see how he literally brings the people together, how he negotiates conflicts. And especially this is very evident in the sports field, because we are not behind a mask when you are really doing engaged in physical activity. So the mask is also a big another concept, because many times in the class we are behind a mask. We know what the society is looking for, and it is easy for us to stay behind that mask. But when you really get into the field, some of our innate qualities really come out. So you can really see, observe those qualities. And that is also where, as a coach, as a teacher, you need to have conversations. You need to have provide opportunities to the students to explore those attributes. You need to really talk to the students about those qualities. And I'd say is observation is a key here, especially when you're talking about community sports in our context.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Over to Usha, ma'am.
Thank you, Zachariah. Darling Tuka, hi, nice to see you. For your remarks, please. Yeah.
Well, I found it extremely interesting how you would take a theory and put it into a practical environment. And I think that the people who have been on this particular session were very appreciative to be able to have some interaction with you, Dr. Mathew. And so I thank you for that, because it now showed all of us that could actually work, that concept, that thought. So I think the biggest question that I have is, you talked about the common good. I'm very much for that, but the question always comes up: if we are more focused on the common good than we are the individual success, how do we somehow balance that so that people do not think that we are for our own agenda, but in some situations in the world, it requires that? I don't know if I made sense with that question.
It does. It is, I don't know which way to go, philosophical or practical.
Maybe a little of both.
Yeah, a little of both. And I think, yeah. So I think the key here is defining what common good is. I mean, let's take in the US, higher education, we talk about education being common good. Really? What do we teach in history? Look at the map that we have all around. So what is the common good that we are really talking about? Look at the history books. Look at the way things are promoted. We talk about education. We talk about health. Who sponsors all the health events? The Pepsis and the Coca-Colas? So it is about defining what a common good is. And now, right now we are going through a turmoil. Now, there are, for a broader understanding, we can say there are two sects here who believes in two different truths of common good. I think what we really need to look at is what makes things more inclusive. How can one give opportunities to everybody? What brings in more people on board? That would cause positive change in the community. So I don't know if I'm going in the right direction, Darlene, here to answer your question. So when you really talk about sports, or let's take about Khelo India movement, when we really talk about the common good, we are talking about achieving the mission of Khelo India, to build a healthy India. to provide opportunity to, I was just looking at the whole pledge and the objective, and I could really put that into 4 different categories. And one of the things that I really loved was access and equity. To take sports to the people who do not have access to it, to the ones who are deprived. And the way they articulate it is also in terms of building national pride. So working towards what really enhances the quality of a community to some extent can be considered as common good. Now, is it wrong for you to gain from that common good? I absolutely don't think that it is wrong to gain or make personal gains from that common good, as long as your motive is not to exploit the common good cause. So this is where, again, the why comes into play. Now, if my question is, what do I gain from this social change? We do have a challenge here. But if you really believe in challenging that status quo and think about why I want to be part of it, because believe me, if there is a change in the community, but going back to the model, it is going to change you as well. If that helps.
Yeah, I have done a lot of work with Kohlberg's levels of moral maturity, but it doesn't really have anything to do with morals in a religious sense. But when you look at that, it helps us to judge intent. But the challenge with everything is, how do we judge intent, or what level are people coming from when they do the exact same behavior or say the exact same thing? And so I think we need to also take that into consideration, because that's when we get in trouble, when we think that the reason someone did it is because of this, and what they really thought was this. So to have explicit goals, and sometimes very, very much discussion about things, it's easier for people to understand what direction and what level you're operating from. So I personally have found it very beneficial to take a look at Kohlberg's levels of moral maturity, in addition to what you're advocating for undergraduate students. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Darlene. Thanks for bringing that perspective. I also want to kind of look at this. We also should encourage everybody to look at this through the cultural lens as well. So what is a norm? I mean, what is acceptable in one might not be acceptable in another culture. And this can again happen. I mean, again, if we do not, I mean, we do not take culture or India as a homogeneous culture, but if you really look at the subcultures within, I think it is also very important that we really look at those norms and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable through the cultural lens. It would actually help us address conflicts with civility, or confrontations with civility. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your pitching in there. Thank you.
Thanks, Luca. Kishore sir, for your
Excellent. Congratulations to Dr. Zachariah Mathew for revealing the hidden, or the most inclusive attributes, diverse attributes which can emerge out of leadership in recreation sports, which can focus for success not only of an individual but also of the community at large and the country and the country. It is from simple from the basics of faith, belief, and confidence. He has also with proof, with evidence shown how it can contribute to the economy of a country, economy of a business sector. Quoting live examples of Ratan Tata, who has used this as a tool by the leadership qualities which probably would have emerged out of his participation in sports, because he also is a keen sports enthusiast and also participates in sports, I think. might be one of the contributing factors which has led to. And otherwise also it is quite visible in the the leadership shown by any of the people who have excelled in different walks of life. Maybe from the American presidents, most of them are team sports participants, recreation sports. Maybe Abraham Lincoln was fond of cutting wooden logs, and now the present ones either play golf or basketball. They are all great leaders. And Mahatma Gandhi, for our leader, was never known to be a sports person, but he was fond of long walks. He walked the length and breadth of the country. So that too is a type of recreation sports, more or less. And he had the leadership qualities to make the country, liberate the country through non-violence. So what else is required? We are sure that some of the contributing factors which have led, which has given inner strength to our father of nation would also have come out of this participatory in sports or recreation sports which he has been into. And also, he has also very effectively linked it with the Hello India mission. And to which more relevant when he is talking to India. Because, we are the second largest world population and the largest youth population. So what will happen if every Indian, every youth of the country, become leaders, gets attribute from the leadership qualities? So it will change the scenario in the nation building process. We will definitely can do wonders in different sectors. So in the last part, he was so participatory that we had the changes which are happening at the individual and group levels in the group values and the individual values were also in a participatory nature which was discussed. That makes things more clear and visible. That everyone has participated and they were all striking the bull. So that shows that it had a keen. It was very, very, very actively participated by all, and definitely this will definitely contribute. Some of the things which we undermine are not. It should not be taken so mildly. That is the message, and it has got a lot of things to take on, to take away as a takeaway from today's session, which has been taken by Dr. Zachariah Mathew. Once again, congratulations, and I think surely this will ignite the thoughts and make people to think, to become leaders, future leaders, and participate in sports ultimately. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the nice words. I mean, it was again, I want to say thank you very much. This is an amazing day for me. This is being able to talk to my own students, to be able to contribute to LNCPE. I mean, we so much talk about brain gain, brain drain, and now we are talking about brain circulation. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and I'm blessed. I'm really blessed to have this opportunity, and thanks for having the faith and confidence in me. And I hope this session was meaningful. I would really like to share my email address with you all. I mean, it was on the slide. I don't know how many of you have noticed it or taken a note. So my email address, if you have any questions, it is either you can send it to my Gmail, zachariahm@gmail, spelled ZACHARIAHM@gmail.com, or zachariah.mathew@indstate.edu. If you need anything more urgent, you can also reach out to Usha ma'am, and Usha ma'am has my cell phone number. She can share it with you if it is something of that importance. Thank you very much. Thank you, students. Thanks my colleagues. Thanks for participating, and I hope your time was worth it. Thank you. And Darlene, thank you very much. Truly it's an honor to have you on this session. And thanks, Usha ma'am. Thanks, Kishore Kumar sir. And thanks, Sanjay. Thank you. I really appreciate all the help. Thank you.
So before the final thanks, tomorrow we have a session, our speakers from Brazil. And Luca Rosa, I think we should be there. I think it's Maria. So we have a session tomorrow. We have a session till the 28th, because I'm seeing questions that are we ending up with today. So for the attention of the speaker, for the participants, we do have regular sessions. And on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India, Hello India, Zachariah, a salute and a big thank you to our most. I say you have made LNCP, proud, a memorable day because you are one of the experts for us. So that's something a matter of pride for us because our alumnus have that state of the state. We'd like to have all those coming up. You are the one who's going to help LNCP reach out to the masses. So I need to thank you so much on behalf of everybody present here. Really thank you. I'd like to
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Luca. I was just looking for you. I couldn't find a light somewhere. So I was just looking, where's the light? And thank you so much. The light has come in. And that's how you find everything has become bright. So thank you so much for your presence. And we look forward to you. Please don't leave us till the end of the program. We expect your presence too. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Kishore sir. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable presence and for the support. I'd like to thank Sanju Samson in his absence because I'm sure he has made a slight turn and made this program still more, successful and practical oriented. I'd like to thank all the participants, invited delegates, and my co-host, Dr. Sanjay Prajapati. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you one and all. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.